Thank you to Scotty Forbes for singing the anthem. Beautiful job, brother. Thank you. And to the pipes and drums in the Montgomery County Color Guard, bringing our colors this morning. And more importantly, thank you all for taking time to come here, to make the trip, to be present, to show the Maltese Cross of the IAFF across the street here. Welcome to Washington, D.C. Welcome to our 2024 Legislative Conference. We have good news, and we have some bad news. The bad news is Congress is broken. The good news is your IAFF has never been stronger. Our political efforts have been successful across all fronts, scoring never-before-seen wins in our state capitals and city halls. Whether you watch Fox or CNN, read the New York Times or the Washington Times, everyone is reporting on the dysfunction and gridlock that plagues what was once the model for democracy worldwide. You've seen the drama of the removal and election of the Speaker of the House. You've seen a complete inability to address major issues like border security, the Ukraine, the Middle East, and the threat of China. There have been more than 12,000 bills introduced this Congress. Less than 50 have passed. Let that sink in for a minute. 12,000 bills, 50 have passed. That includes just naming federal buildings after somebody. It's a mess. Unfortunately, like everyone else, we're caught up in the current state of dysfunction on Capitol Hill. And notwithstanding the dysfunction of Congress, we need to be here. This IAFF needs to be fighting and advocating to improve the lives of our members, our families, and our communities. In many instances, what we lobby are matters of life and death. And that's why we need to be here and walking those halls of Congress. For the first time ever, the IAFF and the FOP will rally together on the grounds of the Capitol to address the WEP and GPO, which steals Social Security benefits from our members in many states and jurisdictions. Our friend, FOP President Pat Yost, and I will be lobbying top congressional leaders on common issues like the WEP and GPO and the Honoring Our Fallen Heroes Act, so the survivors of our members who succumbed to cancer receive their rightly earned public safety officer benefit. Last Congress, suicides resulting from job-connected traumas were included in the PSOB. The Senate's main sponsor, Senator Amy Klobuchar, and the main House sponsor, a former firefighter and IAFF member, Congressman Carlos Jimenez, will both join us later this morning and explain how hard they're fighting for you in Congress. Right now, the IAFF, the International Association of Fire Chiefs, the volunteers, and all of our communities are getting screwed by the inaction of Congress. Back in 2000, Congress passed the AFG program with huge bipartisan support. SAFER passed 3 years later. These two programs combined have provided over $15 billion to fire departments across the nation. Over the years, these programs have been reauthorized by Republican and Democratic Congresses and signed by Republican and Democratic presidents. Lives in every single congressional district have been saved by AFG and SAFER, including the lives of firefighters. When you meet with your members of Congress this week, you need to look them in the eye. And you need to tell them, AFG and SAFER must be reauthorized because your life could depend on it. The bill to renew is tremendous bipartisan support. In fact, the Senate version passed 95-2. So here's the problem. The Senate bill is in conflict with the House rules on spending. Fair enough, it happens across the street. So they need to pass a bill in the House that does meet those standards. And that could be done. In fact, the chairman of the Science Committee, Republican Frank Lucas, wants to do it. But, and it's a big but, Senator Rand Paul, the top Republican on the Senate's Committee of Jurisdiction, and one of the 2 no votes, is trying to kill the program using his power as the ranking member. I've personally met with all the leaders and will do so again tomorrow. So have other fire service organizations. To date, there hasn't been any movement. Many of you have heard me say that there are 2 approaches to lobbying: sweet talk them or headlock them. Your job tomorrow is go over there and headlock them. Protecting communities and firefighters is more important than playing a game of political gotcha. Congress needs to grow up and do their jobs. We all know our greatest threat as firefighters is occupational cancer. I spoke about the PSOB cancer expansion. The federal government should look after our brothers and sisters who die from cancer, but our mission must also be to prevent cancer and assuring screening for our members. We need to advance the Multi-Cancer Early Detection Act. This blood testing is the future of cancer detection. And with the elevated risk firefighters have of cancer, these tests will save our lives. And we have to get the carcinogenic PFAS out of our bunker gear. Congress must pass the PFAS Alternatives Act, whose main sponsor, Representative Debbie Dingell, a great friend to the IAFF, will be here later today. Rep. Dingell and I talk all the time. In fact, we had a nice chat on New Year's Day about this important piece of legislation. The lives of our current and our future firefighters depend on that legislation. Later today, our staff will educate you on other important issues like free speech, bargaining rights, and achieving greater equity in pay and hours for our federal brothers and sisters. Don't forget our brothers and sisters in the 16th when you go over there. Our advocacy and involvement is far greater than just Congress and federal government. In Kentucky, the IAFF and Fire PAC contributed to re-electing Democratic Governor Andy Beshear, a staunch supporter of firefighters and EMS workers. We're going to hear from him in a little bit. In Virginia, the IAFF and Fire PAC worked to protect the Senate, win back the House, and advance collective bargaining. In fact, let me think, which county was it? Just signed their contract, got a $24 million contract for the first time. I think it was, thank you, PW, Prince William. Congratulations, strong work. In Florida, Republican Governor Ron DeSantis stood with the Florida professional firefighters, enhancing their cancer presumptions and righting wrongs done to their pensions. So the IAFF and Fire PAC stood with him. In North Carolina, Fire PAC supported several Republican legislators, including my friend Speaker Tim Moore. And the state has extended its cancer laws for firefighters and passed civil service laws for firefighters in Greensboro and Winston-Salem, which we hope to spread around the state. In Utah, the IAFF and the FOP stood with labor to block a right-wing effort to decimate union rights. In Houston, the IAFF and Fire PAC jumped into the fight to back Mayor John Whitmire. Local 341 has been in a tough battle for 7 years, getting stiffed by their former mayor on collectively bargained annual raises. Just days into taking office, Mayor Whitmire ordered that the appeal of the Houston Locals Court victory be dropped by the city and that they make it right with the firefighters. And then, right on. Good job, Marty Langton and Local 341. Just last week, they resolved an 8-year contract impasse. Good work down there. Politics matters. In Jackson, Mississippi, our ally, Representative Congressman Benny Thompson, intervened to solve a wage dispute in the city, helping Local 87 earn a much-deserved pay raise. Together, from the locals to the state orgs to the international, together, we're changing the lives of firefighters and their families for the better. Strong work by all of us. For over 10 years, the IAFF has fought for a federal policy that protects fire and EMS workers. The Biden administration has answered our calls for help. Last month, the Department of Labor published its new emergency response standard, the first update to firefighter health and safety protection since 1980. The standard has the potential to be the biggest safety improvement in our job since the SCBA, requiring minimum staffing that matches risk to resources, training for specific threats in local jurisdictions and hazards, and vehicle inspection and replacement standards. The Department of Labor proposal is a broad document, and our IAFF subject matter experts will scrutinize every provision, offering our comments to refine the recommended rules. You should review these recommendations too. All of our voices matter, every single one of them. Your voice matters. It matters here in Washington, and it matters at the IAFF. Later this week, for the first time in IAFF history, a survey will be sent to every single IAFF member. We'll be asking what's important to you. What issues are critical to you and your professional lives as fire and EMS workers? And what should this IAFF be focused on for you? Please spread the word. Our voices have never been more important than right now. And if you're one of those people that thinks politics doesn't impact your life, let me tell you a story about two firefighter paramedics from Local 1290 in Aurora, Colorado. In the summer of 2019, they were dispatched to a call to assist the police who had a subject in custody. They made a series of street medicine decisions, and sadly, a 23-year-old Elijah McLean, a very sweet soul, died a few days later in the hospital. The county district attorney opened an investigation and ruled that no criminal charges were warranted. A politically motivated, ambitious state attorney general ordered the investigation reopened. The same medical examiner changed his autopsy report nearly 2 years later and opened the door to indict our members for homicide. They both went to trial. They were both convicted. And this past Friday, I stood with our brothers and sisters in Aurora while one of our brothers was sentenced to a mandatory minimum of 5 years in prison for doing his job. Politics matters. It absolutely matters. And politicians can have no better friend or no worse enemy than the IAFF. We have a lot of work to do, but we can do it together. And if we do it together, there is nothing that we cannot accomplish. Be you, be strong, be firefighters. I'm proud to be your General President, and I thank you for the work you do day in and day out, protecting our brothers and sisters who right now are on the line. God bless you.